R&L Spring manufactures springs and wireforms for all different types of industries, different size springs. We serve a wide variety of industries, but our main industries are medical device, powersports, and automotive. A lot of long-standing customers that we've worked with for 20 to 30 years. We not only provide them with the springs, but the services that we offer, shipping their parts on time, the quality, the engineering support that we provide them.
We provide them a service. We provide them these materials that go into their products that they would not work without our springs. And what's made us successful is we care about what we're doing. We make good product. Quality's always been our number one thing.
Of the companies I represent today, I have the least amount of problems with R&L Spring and Medicoil, and the customers are aware of my other suppliers, and I think that they've come to trust the company as a technology leader and as a partner who's willing to invest if the customer needs the supplier to invest.
My dad started the company because he felt he wasn't treated fairly in his career working for others. And my dad, having come from the shop floor and spent years out there and worked with a lot of different people, he knew how companies could be towards their employees, and he didn't want to be that way because that's his roots. He wasn't somebody that was trained in business school or was an executive or anything. He was just a common man, which is all the more incredible how we got to the point we are today from those simple beginnings.
Royden was very proud of the experience that he'd had working for a number of other companies, and that's where I knew him from.
He was working at a company in the Chicago area the last 7 years prior to starting R&L, and he was able to get another guy there, the L in R&L, which his name's Leonard Namus, to be his partner. He was nothing more than another guy like my dad, a spring maker that was willing to take a chance. He spent the next several years building some machinery in our basement at home, buying used equipment, trying to rebuild it, putting every penny he could into putting equipment together to start his own company.
In the early days, working with Royden was an interesting experience to watch because at that point I was not in manufacturing or engineering myself. So getting a chance to spend a matter of hours watching someone build tools to form wire very methodically. It was just an interesting experience, and even one that I don't do very often.
Then he was having some health problems. He couldn't be there. We were a very small company, 20, 25 people. He decided to buy his partner out. At that point in time, the name was changed from R&L Tool to R&L Spring. It seemed kind of a natural point to make that change when everything was being redone relative to ownership. And the more I read, the name reflected then exactly what we did. It wasn't confusing that a tool company was making springs. I jumped right into family business right after high school. But I kind of knew from the time I was young that that's just where I was going to go. I liked working with the machinery. I liked doing that kind of work. Again, it wasn't the drive to own and run the business. I just liked doing that kind of work. I would work around my dad. I enjoyed that. So that was my drive to be successful and not have it handed to me. We were looking for a site to build our own building on. 25 years of renting other buildings was enough. We had more growth coming than what we had space, and I wasn't going to expand into a fourth building, so we started looking at building sites. Again, the ones in Illinois were in McHenry County. They were getting quite expensive, so we started researching other areas. We had a lot of employees that lived in Wisconsin, being this close to the Illinois border, and so we started looking around here. And Lake Geneva had just opened the business park here in 1996 or 5, a year or two before we chose a site here. A few costs were slightly higher, but it was more than offset by the savings in the property and then the taxes and power costs. And Lake Geneva was a beautiful place to be. I mean, it wasn't really known for industry, but they were trying to diversify their business base here to have more year-round jobs for people that locally that lived here and in all of Walworth County. So we decided to move here. very happy to be here in Wisconsin and in Lake Geneva. We started doing work in medical device, I think it was 1994. Started out slow the first year, and then by the time we moved to Lake Geneva in 97, we were probably 20% of our sales overall was in that field, largely for one of the big pacemaker manufacturers. But we created the Medical Oil brand in 1999. We occupied 3,000 square feet above the offices in the R&L building, which we had built purposefully for doing this very fine precision work and needed an office-like environment to manufacture. We moved in there. We were only occupying a small amount of that space because we had a very tiny room in the Harvard plant where we were doing this prior to moving. Within a couple of years, we'd filled that up. A couple more years, and around 2000, we had expanded to some other empty space in the R&L office area above, and decided we needed to build our own facility. 2004, we took and laid the plans for building the medical oil building that we're in today, and moved in there in 2006. And again, we probably were occupying 5,000 feet in the R&L building, and we moved into 54,000 feet here. It's like, how we're ever going to fill this thing up? Well, within 5 years, we'd filled about 80% of it up. We made a decision we needed to add on to this one. We'd been contemplating this for about 3 years. Finally reached a critical point where we can't afford to set up somewhere and then move again. We need to just add on to this building. So the decision was made about a little over a year ago to add on to this building. It's 40,000 square feet, so it's a little bigger footprint than this building, which is partially a two-story building at 54,000 feet. It's all manufacturing space, and we found with some new customers and some new work with existing customers, we needed a much larger clean room. Couldn't put it in this facility, so we needed that space to put a proper clean room up for cleaning and some manufacturing processes that required to be done in a clean room. The longer we waited to do this, the more opportunities were going to pass us by that we just couldn't take on.
Probably my earliest memory of the business is take your daughter or son to work day. I remember in grade school always participating in those for a couple years, and I really looked forward to that. I would come in and my dad would have me sit in his office all day. He was out and about. I'm not sure what he was doing, probably in meetings and getting his hands dirty in the shop, but I just remember sitting in that office and not having a clue really of what that meant, but I did feel the importance of it, and it was exciting to me. I would spend time and just play on his computer, organize his office, and he'd come back and be all mad at me because his papers were moved and everything was in order. He knew where the mess was before I would come in, and I thought I was doing him a favor. Probably feels that way now. Working with my dad has been an exciting and challenging opportunity. I'm extremely grateful working together. I know not everyone gets that opportunity to work with their family. There's good and bad in that, but being the next generation and trying to learn from my father and his experiences, I'm thankful that he is here and able to help guide and coach and teach, and I can learn from him. He can learn from me. We're certainly a team, and it's been a great experience so far.
You need everybody here that's here doing their job for you, and every job's important as far as the people. They're equal value. And those tasks are important to get done. And some of them are a grind. They're here 8 hours a day to doing the same thing every hour of the day, and some have more exciting roles here, but try and make everybody feel like their job's important, because everyone is. I have to make sure I always take care of my people. He impressed upon me the value of the people that work for you, and that everybody's here, they choose to be here. You use them and their talents to create a company and make money, and you benefit from that, and you share that with them.
We're a company of over 100 employees at R&L, but as a full entity with Medicoil, over 200 employees. Employees are our greatest asset, and without them we wouldn't be successful. We wouldn't be able to make our product. So make sure you treat them well. I think we have some of the best employees out there, the most passionate employees, and I think a lot of that comes from the history, especially those that have been there a long time, 20 plus years. We have really good tenure with our long-standing employees. I truly believe they wouldn't be with us today if my dad had not instilled those values within the organization early on.
I expect we'll be doing things completely differently in the next 20 years than we did previously. My feeling is we have to continually change and improve, and you do that with good people that know how to come up with new ideas on how to do things better. This is the next generation and running this business and at all levels of the company. Try to instill that in as much as possible. You can't, if you try and do things the same way we always done, we'll stagnate and we'll die. The only way you grow is to innovate and come up with new processes, new customers, and new technologies. I mean, that's my passion, is doing that sort of thing.
Springs are always going to be around, and they're in everything. There's a spring that goes into almost anything you can think of. So as technology evolves and the world evolves around us, the springs are always going to be there, and what we do is always going to be there. We just may be applying it into different products, into different industries.